Lecture 9. The Fourfold Route to Sufficient Reason. Introduction: Understanding Plato's Approach to Reason. As we dive into today's exploration of Plato's fourfold route to sufficient reason, it's essential to remember that reading the critical dialogues will significantly deepen your understanding of the topics we'll cover. The works that form the backbone of this lecture, Phaedo, the Republic, Theaetetus, and Timaeus, are crucial to grasping how Plato structured reasoning into distinct yet interconnected pathways. Without these foundational texts, much of Plato's nuanced insights into dialectic, mathematics, practical wisdom, phronesis, and divine insight, nous, may remain abstract and harder to apply to philosophical inquiry and valuable life. It's also important to note that these dialogues are not isolated. Plato's thought on reason is part of a broader intellectual tradition that has influenced centuries of philosophical development. For those interested in expanding their understanding further, reading works like St. Augustine's Confessions and Alfred North Whitehead's Process and Reality will offer a richer perspective on how reason and metaphysics have been discussed post-Plato. In this lecture, we will dissect each of these four routes in detail, demonstrating how Plato not only provided a theoretical framework and a practical guide for living a life rooted in reason. This holistic approach to reason transcends pure logic, offering a model for aligning intellectual inquiry with the ethical and the divine. I encourage you to engage deeply with the recommended readings. As we proceed, I will highlight where specific references can further enhance your understanding. If time allows, try to revisit some of these texts, especially as we unpack the intricacies of dialectic and nous. Whether or not you've had time to read all the dialogues in preparation, don't worry. We will revisit many of these ideas throughout the course. Keep Plato's words close as we navigate these intellectual paths together.
Lecture 09. The Fourfold Route to Sufficient Reason. Introduction: Understanding Plato's Approach to Reason. In this lecture, we will explore Plato's conception of reason and logic, particularly the fourfold route to sufficient reason. Plato's dialogues serve as the foundation for much of Western thought on rationality, ethics, and metaphysics. His nuanced understanding of reasoning, reflected in key works such as Phaedo, the Republic, Theaetetus, and Timaeus, reveals a deep concern for how we come to know, understand, and justify our beliefs. In this lecture, we will investigate how Plato structured reasoning into four distinct but interconnected modes: dialectic, mathematics, practical wisdom, phronesis, and divine insight. Now, these four pathways to reason, though different in form and application, collectively guide us toward a holistic understanding of reality. By emphasizing the unity of intellectual and ethical life, Plato provides a framework not just for theoretical knowledge, but for living well in accordance with reason. Let's dive into each of these four routes, drawing on the relevant Platonic dialogues for illustration. Dialectic: the art of structured inquiry. The first route to sufficient reason is the dialectic, which Plato presents as the highest form of reasoning. In Republic, Socrates describes dialectic as the method that allows one to ascend from hypothesis to the unhypothetical first principle. Republic 511b. This process of inquiry, known as the dialectic method, involves dialogue and questioning to move beyond mere opinion, doxa, toward knowledge, episteme. Dialectic serves as a way to cut through contradictions and apparent truths, pushing the interlocutor to clarify and refine their thinking. Plato shows this method in action in Meno, where Socrates engages the young Meno in a dialogue about virtue. By asking probing questions, Socrates leads Meno to realize that his initial understanding of virtue was based on assumptions rather than knowledge. Meno 80a, 81a. This process of refinement is essential for reaching sufficient reason, knowledge that is both justified and true. For Plato, the dialectic is not just about finding the right answers, it's about transforming the soul. As we see in Phaedo, dialectic leads to intellectual purification, separating the soul from the distractions of the body. Phaedo 66a, 67b. By practicing dialectic, one develops the capacity to perceive the forms, perfect, unchanging realities that exist beyond the material world. It is in this perception of forms, that we find true knowledge and the foundation for sufficient reason. Mathematics, the structure of reality. Mathematics represents the second root to sufficient reason in Plato's philosophy. In the Republic, Socrates claims that mathematical reasoning provides the most stable foundation for knowledge of the physical world because it deals with entities that are abstract and unchanging. Republic 525b. For example, the concept of a triangle exists in an ideal form that remains constant, even if no perfect triangles exist in the material world. By studying mathematics, Plato argues, we learn to apprehend eternal truths that serve as the groundwork for understanding the cosmos. Plato emphasizes the role of mathematical reasoning in the education of the philosopher kings in the Republic. Their education, he argues, must include arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and harmonics, not for practical purposes, but for training the mind to think abstractly and perceive the forms. Republic 522c, 531d. Mathematics disciplines the mind to focus on what is essential, universal, and necessary, rather than being distracted by the flux and contingency of everyday life. In Timaeus, Plato further extends the role of mathematics in the natural order by depicting the cosmos as being structured according to mathematical principles. Timaeus 30c, 31b. The demiurge, or divine craftsman, uses geometry to fashion the universe in an orderly and harmonious way, making mathematics the key to understanding the rational structure of the world. Practical wisdom, phronesis, the ethical dimension of reason. The third route to sufficient reason is phronesis, or practical wisdom, which relates to the application of reason in everyday life. While dialectic and mathematics deal with abstract forms of knowledge, phronesis concerns how we navigate the complexities of human life with discernment and ethical judgment. In the Republic, Socrates outlines the importance of phronesis for rulers, arguing that only those with practical wisdom can govern justly and well. Republic 428b, 430d. Practical wisdom is also central to Plato's discussion of virtue in Gorgias. Here, Socrates argues that living a good life requires more than technical knowledge or skill. It requires wisdom in making choices that lead to the flourishing of the soul. Gorgias 507bd. Phronesis is thus the art of deliberating well about what is truly good for oneself and for others. Unlike theoretical reasoning, which seeks universal truths, phronesis is concerned with the particulars of each situation. It helps us navigate the contingencies of life in a way that aligns with reason and virtue. Plato's treatment of practical wisdom is particularly evident in his dialogues about the philosopher-statesman. In Statesman, Socrates argues that a good ruler must possess phronesis to balance the competing demands of justice, power, and the common good. Statesman 305e, 311c. Without practical wisdom, even the most rational plans can lead to harmful outcomes if they are not suited to the particular circumstances of the city or the people being governed. Divine insight, nous, the highest form of knowing. The fourth and final route to sufficient reason is nous, or divine insight, which Plato describes as the highest form of knowledge. Nous is the faculty that allows us to grasp the forms directly, beyond the mediation of sense perception or discursive reasoning. In Phaedrus, Plato suggests that the soul has an innate capacity to recall the forms, which it glimpsed in a previous disembodied state. Phaedrus 249 CD. This recollection of the forms is what Plato calls anamnesis, or the process of remembering eternal truths that the soul has always known. Nous is not something that can be taught, nor is it something that can be attained through logical steps. Rather, it is a kind of intuitive insight that comes when the soul is properly aligned with the divine order. In Symposium, Diotima tells Socrates that the highest form of love is the love of wisdom, which leads to the contemplation of the form of beauty itself. Symposium 210e, 211b. This love of wisdom, or philosophy, awakens nous within us, allowing us to see the highest realities in their pure form. The importance of nous is also emphasized in Timaeus, where Plato describes the divine mind as the source of all order and intelligibility in the cosmos. Timaeus 47 BC. While human reason can grasp aspects of this order through dialectic and mathematics, it is only through nous that we can perceive the ultimate source of all being, the good, which transcends all other forms. The unity of the four roots. While these four roots, dialectic, mathematics, phronesis, and nous, are distinct, they are not separate. Plato presents them as interrelated paths that together lead to a complete understanding of reality. The dialectic helps us refine our thinking and move beyond opinion, while mathematics gives us access to the eternal structures underlying the physical world. Practical wisdom allows us to apply reason to the ethical dimensions of life, and nous offers us direct insight into the highest truths. These four roots are united by their common goal: to lead the soul toward the good, which Plato identifies as the ultimate source of all truth, beauty, and justice. In the Republic, Socrates compares the good to the sun, which illuminates all things and makes them knowable. Republic 508b, 509b. Just as the sun enables us to see the physical world, the good enables us to know the forms and to live in accordance with reason. By following these four routes, we move from the shadows of ignorance into the light of knowledge. We learn not only to think clearly and logically, but also to live virtuously and wisely. Plato's fourfold path to sufficient reason is thus a guide not just for intellectual inquiry, but for the cultivation of a life well lived. Conclusion: applying Plato's fourfold path today. In conclusion, Plato's fourfold route to sufficient reason offers us a timeless framework for understanding the nature of reality and the role of reason in our lives. By practicing dialectic, we sharpen our ability to think critically and question our assumptions. Through mathematics, we gain access to the eternal truths that underlie the material world. With practical wisdom, we learn to navigate the complexities of human life with ethical discernment. And through nous, we glimpse the highest realities that give meaning and purpose to our existence. Plato's vision of reason is not confined to the realm of abstract philosophy. It is a practical guide for living a life of virtue, wisdom, and fulfillment. In our own pursuit of knowledge, we can draw on these four roots to help us find sufficient reason in all aspects of life, from the theoretical to the practical, from the scientific to the ethical.